deal with the situation in a decisive way without encountering U.S. forces. Whereas, if Putin had accepted the request for reunification from the Ukrainian provinces the way he did from Crimea, the whole thing would be over with by now, because the Ukraine has no capability of engaging Russian military forces. And Washington would not have had the time to build up all the propaganda against Russia. It would have shown Europe a very clear, decisive action by Russia. They would see that they don't want part of any American plan that puts them into conflict with such decisive decision-making. And this would have been the end of the crisis. So I think that Putin, he made a reasonable and responsible bet. It hasn't worked.
What do you make of the resignation of the prime minister in the Ukraine, Yatsenyuk, and his cabinet, and that coalition falling apart? Do you think that that's going to be a move towards pro-Russian forces, or is that just sweeping out these guys to get somebody in that's going to be more amenable to George Soros and company and State Department?
Yes, I don't think Soros has anything to do with it. It's the United States government. Look, we don't know what happened. It could just be a tactic, because the parliament did not sign off on 2 of the IMF austerity demands. And what happened, from my understanding, though we don't have any good reports, my understanding is that the right-wing parties in the coalition pulled out. That collapsed the government, and then that led to the resignation of the cabinet and the prime minister. So I think that the initiating factor may have been the withdrawal of the 2 right-wing parties, the 2 parties that are usually said to be neo-Nazi. That seemed to have been the collapse, and it seemed to have been disagreement over the austerity that the IMF intended to impose on Ukrainians. Now, how this will come out, I don't know. The ministers that resigned are in favor of the austerity. So whether, and they are the ones that the United States is backing.
Well, now, of course, they're also going to have elections at this point. Maybe that's another way for them to establish more firmly their control, is to actually have elections for the first time. We hear the press over here always talking about how the self-appointed separatists in Crimea are there, but of course these guys are also just as self-appointed, and if they have the right and the ability to remove themselves from Russia, then of course that means that a subsection of their country also has the same human right to secede as self-government and that sort of thing. But we see that there's very little coverage, I think, actually, of what's going on. Even the fact that there has been a collapse of the Ukrainian government, that's not really covered much in the news here, even though it's just happened the last 24 hours.
When I heard about it, from the man who runs global research. I quickly went to the news. There was nothing in the New York Times, nothing on CNN.
That's right.
Nothing on BBC. Now, I've since heard that last night the BBC had a program on it, but it was nothing on their website, and it had already occurred. So it may be that everybody was waiting to get Washington's spin on it before they reported it. That's probably what happened. It could also be what's happened, David, is that the puppet government there, which is inconvenienced by the right-wing elements to some extent, may have decided that the Ukrainians have had enough of those people, and therefore to collapse the government and have elections might get rid of them. On the other hand, it is these right-wing elements that have the armed militias that were the first to attack the so-called separatists in eastern and southern Ukraine. So it looks like they are a fairly well-organized group, and so I don't know whether they can be got rid of or not. It might it might work the other way.
It's interesting to see how differently they covered it versus the plane crash. Immediately, CNN was showing pictures. They knew exactly what missile it was, and they had graphics showing. It looked like they had a tank with these Buk missiles on it right in the studio because they'd superimposed it there with a green screen. And so they were immediately on all of this and immediately had identified that it was Vladimir Putin, essentially, that was doing this. But they were very quiet about the fact that the Ukraine government has essentially collapsed in its coalition. I guess they don't want a narrative that's going to make the Ukrainian government look weak or illegitimate. They want to make it look as legitimate as possible.
Well, I think the media is just waiting for Washington's spin. And as you said, they were completely ready on cue to blame Russia about the airliner. And that makes it look orchestrated.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Roberts. Again, this is Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, American economist, Assistant Secretary of the Treasury. His website is paulcraigroberts.org, and his most recent book is entitled How America Was Lost. His article is up on Infowars.com talking about the so-called crisis that has been orchestrated, now an opportunity to escalate the tensions between the West and Russia for many reasons. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Roberts.
Please, Dave.
Thank you. We'll be right back with more of your calls. Stay with us.
This hour brought to you by InfidelBodyArmor.com. When it hits the fan, don't be left without the body armor that will save your life. With prices starting at just $374.99 and ships free. Get yours at InfidelBodyArmor.com. Just won't quit.
Hi, Ted Anderson with Midas Resources. Is it time to convert paper 401ks and IRAs to solid gold and silver yet? Get our 10 Reasons book free. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
Gain your independence all this month. Emergency Essentials will help you prepare with our biggest Mountain House sale ever. Now through July 31st, save up to 50% on every Mountain House can in stock. Mountain House food is the premier solution for your long-term storage. The freeze-dried lasagna is only $17.49 and the pasta primavera is only $18.49. Shop Emergency Essentials right now at BePrepared.com for the lowest prices in the country. The choice is clear. Be unprepared or BePrepared.com.
Get the most important package of information you'll ever receive in your life for only $10. The package includes 3 books and 7 DVD programs which cover biblical miracles and prophecy. The Shroud of Turin, The Third Secret of Fatima, What Really Happened to the Catholic Church, and more. Call 800-513-0029. That's 800-513-0029. Or go to VaticanCatholic.com. That's VaticanCatholic.com. 800-513-0029. VaticanCatholic.com.
Hey, this is Steve Sanchez. Worried about the Wall Street casino? Yeah, me too. Wondering when the stock market is going to collapse? You probably want answers, but you know you can't trust the global elite. Well, my good friend Brett Kitchen, best-selling author, has created a DVD set called The Millionaire Black Box, and for a limited time, you get free access. Call 1-800-259-3131. Find out how the global elite invests without having to deal with the global elite themselves. 1-800-259-3131. 1-800-259-3131.
Hey folks, this is Larry Crisp for BabyBoomerBackupPlan.com. I'm sure you know this economy sucks. We all realize that the American economy is tremendously unstable right now and will likely get much worse. There's monumental debt, government bailouts, stock and real estate bubbles that are primed to pop at any moment, which can flush away most or all of your retirement savings. This type of movement has enormous consequences. Virtually 0 sectors of the economy are hiring and workforce participation is at record lows. Financial trouble is right here at our doorstep. But if you move right now and develop a backup plan immediately, this could be the most profitable time of your life. Proportionally, more millionaires were created during the Great Depression than at any time in our history. Get my free report at BabyBoomerBackupPlan.com or call 888-507-8789 for my free report. 888-507-8789 and prepare to profit as history repeats itself.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, your host today. going to go back to taking your calls. We just had Dr. Paul Craig Roberts with us talking about the Ukraine situation. Our number here is 800-259-9231. That's 800-259-9231. We've got some people that are still on hold from before Dr. Roberts joined us. I want to go to them now, but before we do, I just want to point out this article that's up on Infowars.com today. Over a third of Americans want Obama impeached. That's even 1 in 5 Democrats favor impeaching president. This is 33% said they want Obama impeached. 57% of Republicans. 45% of the people say that Obama has sought to expand the power of the presidency too far. Maybe that's why they want to get him out of there. And of course, what will they do about it? We've seen a lot of Republicans pushing back in the last couple of weeks saying, oh, we don't want to do impeachment. We've seen op-ed pieces. We've seen spokesmen for the Republican Party saying this is a losing strategy. We don't want to do this. They need to do it, I believe, because it's the right thing to do. If you don't push back, you're essentially saying you agree with what he's done. You essentially say it's okay for a president to ignore the law, to ignore Congress, to ignore Supreme Court decisions, and do whatever it is that they wish. It's wrong to not oppose this kind of activity. If you lose, but you have to have the backbone to stand up. That's what we were talking about with Paul Ryan when he went before the FEC and begged them for an exemption to do what politicians have essentially been doing, and that is using books that they write to raise money. And of course, Hillary Clinton didn't go to them and ask for an exemption. Now, not that she would really care what the law is or what the regulations are, but we have certain rights, and one of those rights is free speech, and that's especially about political speech. It's not just there about artistic freedom. Certainly, that is part of free speech, but the First Amendment is there primarily to protect political speech. And if the Federal Elections Commission is going to impinge upon that and take part of that and turn it into a privilege granted by them and prescribed by them, they came back and said, well, you can't write more than 2 sentences on your website about it, and they put some other restrictions on there. The FEC chairman, who is Republican, was very upset about that, said that they've established a regulatory precedent here, yet he voted for it. They slapped down Paul Ryan, yet he asked permission from them to exercise his First Amendment rights. So when the Republicans say they don't want to go to the bat and they don't want to vote to impeach or try to impeach Obama because they can't win it, they just don't have the backbone to stand up for principle, is all I believe that's behind this. The American people are getting tired of this. I'm very tired of it. I'm sure you are if you're listening to this program. Let's go to Paul in Canada. Paul, you've got some solutions, you said, on your notes here. Go ahead, Paul.
How you doing, man?
Hey, what's your solution?
Hey, I'm glad to get through finally. I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller. Actually, not first-time caller. I tried to get through before, but glad to get through to you. I just want to. I got a few things I wrote down. I'm just going to shoot through them real quick, and whatever one you want to touch on or remember, that's great. You can give me a reply.
Go for it.
Here's the first one. Alex is always talking about dead kids. That I just want to say that probably makes a lot of people uncomfortable, and it turns a few people off. It's not so much me, but there's probably a good percentage of people that as soon as he starts talking too blatantly about. It's just not so much roasting black kids on the White House lawn. Okay, we all understand the analogy behind that. But when he says grinding up at meat cleavers, and he starts going on about rape and all that stuff, that probably makes a lot of people really uncomfortable. And whether he's trying to get sensational to prove a big message or not, it automatically turns some people off.
So you don't think we should speak out against abortion?
No, absolutely speak out against it, but there's ways to word it that's not so. I mean, no, I'm not.
Yeah, it's very offensive. You know, when anti-abortion protesters go places and show pictures of what they do to the children during the process of abortion, people get very offended by that. They should be offended about it. Anybody with a moral sense should be offended by that, but not at the messenger. Hang on, I'll let you make your other points right after the break. Stay with us.
This is GCN, the Genesis Communications Radio Network.
I've always believed in nutrition and herbs. Super Male Vitality was developed to activate your body's own natural processes instead of using synthetic chemicals, sourced from powerful organic herbs, harvested around the planet, and then concentrated for maximum potency.
I just received my Male Vitality about 3 days ago, and I must say that is good stuff.
After consulting top doctors, nutritionists, pharmacists, and others, we have developed what I believe is the ultimate non-GMO organic Super Male Vitality formula. Super Male Vitality by InfoWars Life is so powerful that I only take half the recommended dose.
I jump out of bed ready to fight these criminals every day. I look forward to waking up and taking my Super Male Vitality and getting the day started.
It's not just the Super Male Vitality. All the products at InfoWarsLife.com are simply amazing. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today to secure your Super Male Vitality and other powerful products from InfoWars Life.